You've cared for your parents for most of your life, really.
Well, yeah, we never saw it as caring because my parents have both been ill or had various ailments and things, like, as I mentioned, my father with MS. And you just did what you had to do. We never saw it as caring, basically. Yeah, you just get on with it. And being a northern lass, of course, that's what we were brought up to do. But, yeah, we've discussed it, and my father's discussed it, and I've discussed it also with a very good friend of mine who's had all sorts of ailments.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, as soon as I lose my marbles, just whip me off to Dignitas. And you think, yeah, OK, will do. But you've got to really be serious about it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, if you tell me I can go off to you know, take you to Switzerland, I'll be the one that's done for murder or, you know, assisted suicide.
What about your mum? Because she's been pretty ill as well,
Yeah.
hasn't she?
Yeah.
What's
yeah.
your mum's story?
She's had a bad back, and she was in traction from, I think, about a month or two after I was born. It wasn't my fault.
No.
It might have been. But, and knee replacements and all sorts. So she, as a carer, she found it very difficult because obviously having a bad back, she couldn't lift my father, so, you know, he's got hoists and all sorts of equipment, which obviously costs a lot of money. So, you know, to have carers, it does cost.
But the fact that this is something that is so incredibly sensitive and still can cause such a fuss in the media and online and in this day and age, surely you are someone who is incredibly well qualified to have an opinion on this because of the life that you've led thus far, the experiences that you've had thus far.
Yeah, and I see my parents getting older and, you know, they're nearly 80. I know they're still young, actually, at the moment. But because of their ailments, I've just seen how they suffer.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I haven't got kids. So...
Have they asked you, your parents? Have they spoken to you
My father
about
has,
this?
yeah.
OK, and it's something that
Yeah, he says
like...
if he's going to be... I don't like the phrase, but if he's going to end up like a vegetable, he copes with his lack of physical ability, but mentally he couldn't do.
I feel that the impact of taking your own life on the people around you is considerable.
And so is the burden when you're in a state like that on your family.
Yes.
And also on the NHS. If you're going to be kept alive for 5-10 years and you're in no state to look after yourself.
If you're not careful, I mean, I'm totally with you as well on that, but the trouble is, if you...
It's the legalities.
Well, if you enable people, if you allow it to happen, then some people are going to feel, oh, I'm a burden. It's about time I wasn't a burden to my family anymore. There's going to be that pressure on them. Equally, there are some, you know, younger people in the family who might think mum or dad's a bit of a burden now. And you start to look upon life, even though it's very hard, as a burden that needs to be relieved, or even a financial burden. And that would be wrong. I know.
But you wouldn't do it to your Labrador.
I know someone who...
And I'm not saying your family are like a dog.
No.
But you wouldn't do it to a dog.
No, I know.
So
it's
why
weird. But I know someone who... it's a friend of a friend, basically, who did exactly that. She'd got to a point in her life, she was 90 plus, and she decided that she didn't have any children around. She had... and her health was really, really failing, but not her mind.
Yeah.
But her health was hugely failing, and she took herself off to Switzerland.
Right.
And the impact it's had on those who knew her and actually loved her has been profound.
Yeah.
I mean, devastating.
Probably
to
both
think
ways,
that she
yeah.
felt strongly enough to do that. Can't believe she
Well,
did it.
I think a way round, because of this league, I don't want to say that you can open the doors and it's like a floodgate for anybody
And
to
it
just
would never
pop off
be that
anybody.
way, yeah.
I think what could be introduced is a living will, and you could put it in your will and say, you know, if there's nobody, do not resuscitate me.
Is that something you would definitely do?
Yes, I would.
What happens if you have a family and you have children and in your will you say, I don't want to be resuscitated? What effect does that have on your children if they're desperately wanting to keep you alive?
But it's a personal thing. It's not a general statement that
I know
applies
exactly
to everyone.
what you're saying.
You would have to speak to your children and say, as my father did to me, as my father did to me, and say, I really don't want any more. I've suffered enough through my physical disability. I don't want the mental disability to go with it.
Right, so if it was legalised and your father had said that, you might be in the position of being in the hospital and saying, turn off his life support machine. What about the impact on your mother?
I think my mother, we've discussed things. We're pretty open, actually, as a family, and we discuss death, funerals, because we've had this illness throughout throughout my whole life.
I guess that's what it boils down to, is we all have a very slightly different take on death, don't we?
Yeah.
And
Some people
suffering and
just
prolonging
cut it
suffering.
off.
And I mean, I think we're a very strange society in that, and I don't want to offend anyone, please. But if, for instance, you wanted an abortion in this country, which you could argue involves the death of something,
Absolutely.
The way we've rationalised it is you get 2 doctors to actually sign off on it and say, you need it, it's medically necessary,
Sure.
and 2 different opinions have done that. But about your own life, you can't do that.
And that's not a choice, and it's your life.